Well, now let's talk about the Teals, of course, parachuted into Parliament on a Climate 200 campaign. But what have they actually seriously achieved in these 2 years? Well, the coalition has accused them of claiming credit for Labor's policies in a sign that they're struggling to prove their relevance ahead of the election. The Teals have hit back, claiming their so-called achievements include federal budget measures, HECS debt relief, Stage 3 tax cut changes, and Labor's commitment to creating a National Anti-Corruption Commission. Key word there, Labor's commitment. Joining me now is Liberal MP Garth Hamilton. Garth, good to see you. It seems the Teals are desperate to prove they are still relevant 2 years on. What have they achieved during this time in your view?
Well, I'll tell you one thing they have done very well is they've confirmed for everybody that they are a party. This response that we got back when Peter Dutton questioned what they've been able to do has been a very unified one coming from headquarters. They're all singing from the same hymn sheet all over again, but seriously, there's not a lot that they can point to. And when they did try to justify their existence, their relevance in this term of Parliament, all they've done is try to claim Labor policies. So they've shown us that they're a party. They've shown us that they're a Labor-aligned party, and that shouldn't come as any surprise. But I think they've also shown us that they're quite deceptive. Trying to claim Labor's work as their own, but being very selective about that. Let's be clear about that. They've been very selective about what they've tried to claim as their achievements. I think we should speak to their other achievements because they've helped Labor in every one of their major fails along the way. They didn't speak up about the immigration fails that Labor have led us through, the inflation troubles that we're going through at the moment. They didn't speak up on any of those. The price caps in the gas industry, they were all for that, and now we're seeing the impact in the gas industry of Labor's intervention there. So if they want to claim themselves as having achieved all of Labor's great achievements, they can own the failures just as well.
Yeah, it's embarrassing, though, that they're rehashing Labor's alleged achievements and claiming them as their own. It goes to show they don't have a lot of originality. Now, look, the Prime Minister and his Treasurer don't seem to understand how the economy works. After being warned multiple times by the RBA that big spending is putting pressure on inflation, Albo is still saying, no, the RBA is wrong. Have a listen.
Are Australians facing higher rates for longer because of big spending federal and state budgets?
Well, that's not what they've said, Peter, with respect. And the truth is...
Well, this is the quote here from the RBA. Public demand is forecast to be stronger than previously expected, reflecting recent public spending announcements by federal and state governments. Are you saying they're wrong?
Yeah, that's very different. That's very different from the way that you characterised it, Peter.
I mean, Garth, how bad could this relationship between the RBA and Labor get, especially as we now edge closer toward an election?
This is very, very serious because the Australian economy relies upon fiscal and monetary policy working together, particularly in times of great stress, which is what we're going through here now. And the RBA has got a hell of a job. We talk about this a lot. They've got that one instrument that they can use, which is interest rates, to deal with inflation. They've got a very narrow band that they've got to get inflation back to, the 2 to 3%. It's a difficult job. And what we hope of a government is that they will work with the RBA to make that process easier, not just for the RBA, but for Australians, for households, for small businesses across the country who are struggling through this period of high inflation. Now, this is what we expect of the government. Instead, we've got the complete opposite. Now, we've been warning the government about this for well over 2 years since their first budget was brought down, that they are working against the RBA, that while the RBA is raising interest rates, trying to take money out of the economy, the government's throwing more and more money back in, $315 billion of additional spending since they came to government. And to put that into terms, year on year, we're spending over $100 billion more per year than we were in 2019. So this government is throwing money around willy-nilly and then is trying to claim that that has no impact. It's ridiculous, it's juvenile, and it was great to see, quite frankly, the RBA governor school both Albo and Jim on this one and teach them that lesson. Remember, it wasn't that long ago, Jim was telling us he had rewritten, capitalism, and he'd made a change to economics altogether with his 6,000-word essay.
No, and this is the thing. I mean, the RBA has made it very clear on multiple occasions, and also economists, this is extraordinary that we that Labor can't understand it. Unfortunately, I think we've actually lost Garth Hamilton, but it was good to speak to Garth. Oh, no, actually, we do have Garth Hamilton. You're back. Sorry, Garth. Now, look, before we let you go, I want to talk about the former Prime Minister, Paul Keating, who really embarrassed himself last night on ABC's 7:30 program. This is what he said.
AUKUS is really about, in American terms, the military control of Australia. I mean, what's happened? I say this: the Albanese government, with and their policy, is likely to turn Australia into the 51st state of the United States.
Garth, he also said strengthening military ties with the US would lead to Australia being dragged into conflicts started by its aggressive ally. What do you make of this comment?
Well, it'd be easy to dismiss him as Australia's grumpy old granddad who's having a bit of a rant around the Christmas table. The problem is he was a former Prime Minister. He is a former Prime Minister. And he does carry some weight. So it's really, quite frankly, dangerous to see an elder statesman of the Labor Party talking down one of our greatest ally, no question about that, but also causing us all sorts of troubles in terms of raising the spectre of that somehow having a bad relationship with China is going to be the result of this. So I'm sorry, we have allies. We have a great agreement in AUKUS. We should follow through on that. It's great to see we are. And quite frankly, I think he just needs to have a bit of a Bex and a lie down. And maybe that's been enough TV for Mr Keating for a while.
Yeah, I think that's some very good advice. Garth Hamilton, good to have you on. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.